I don't talk about Tesla much. They make really good vehicles, but the numbers just don't lie. So if you're one of the people who, can't bear when somebody says something not pro-Tesla, then you might not like this video. But I was utterly gobsmacked at how many people said in the last video about Tesla sales figures that they're doing better than what the mainstream media are reporting, and that it's a misrepresentation, paraphrase, of the truth in some way. But then every comment had someone else tell them that they're wrong. So it's a polarizing topic, I think. So now the sales data for May came out, pretty shocking, the worst May they've had for years. All Tesla sales performance indicators are literally down for the last couple of years, literally all of them. Let's just jump into the numbers, shall we? So Tesla's market share in Europe collapsed, 18% in 2023, this year 9%, while the rest of the EV market is booming. It's 28% larger than it was last year, and Tesla's registrations are down 38% this year compared to last year. So it's not a dip, it's not subtle, and there's a trend. I think there are logical reasons for this that simply don't equal Musk being political or Tesla are rubbish and not very good. If the market grew as much as it did, and Tesla's market share literally halved, and they sold less cars than they have in any month in the past, basically, then it has to be said that this is a bit of a trend. Hey folks, Ben Alexander here. Thank you for tuning in. Also, thank you very much to the half a dozen more Patreon members that have joined, and a couple of new people on YouTube. I'll put your names at the end. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. It's 38 degrees in Rome this week. Super, super, super hot. Perfect weather for an affogato. And yeah, that's probably hotter than Brisbane, I think, isn't it, in summer? Because in Brisbane it's 30, 32 on most days. I'll preface this by saying, genuinely, I like Tesla vehicles. I think they're great. If anyone who's driven a Model 3, tell me that they're not good. They're great, really. But some people want small cars or hatchbacks or an actual 4x4 or something like that, or something with a bit more character, like a Suzuki, a little Suzuki Jimny but electric or something. Tesla, they really have a few cars and that's it, and they're all fairly similar in a way, but they are seemingly reliable these days and compelling and simple, and I think people like them for a few reasons. The ergonomics, great. They're all quick, they all have good range, but there's a lot more choice for people now, so it's not like that's your choice. You can't just choose from Tesla, you've got everything else to go from now. Other brands also have members of staff whose job it is Monday to Friday to go and make the seats comfy, and to make the doors sound really, really nice when they close, and to make the steering not just good, but pleasurable and compelling. So the decline in sales is not all to do with Tesla's boss or he who must not be named. Just know I'm perfectly impartial to the cars that Tesla produce. I don't mind, honestly. In 2023, Tesla sold 3,500,000 vehicles, 355,000 to be exact. Last year, 2024, 282,000 vehicles, and a 13.5% decrease compared to 2023. So in that year, they lost quite a bit of market share. That's not good. They've gone down to selling 13,800 vehicles in May this year across all of Europe, marking a 28% decrease compared to May last year. So approximately 19,200 last year. Now it's 13,000 this year. United Kingdom, sales fell 45%, down to 1,700 vehicles for the month of May in total. And Germany, sales dropped 36% for the month of May, comparing it to May last year. France, 67% less than the May last year, down to 700 vehicles. Norway, contrarily, sales surged. This is where I think a lot of the arguing came from in the comments on the last video. 213% briefly to 2,600 vehicles, which is good per capita because there are only 5 million people in Norway. So primarily due to the introduction of the refreshed Model Y version, basically, which is frankly brilliant. It's a great car. I prefer the way the older one felt than the newer one, but I prefer the look of the new one, although much of a muchness. Both great, but I think the new one, there's just something about it that's actually quite good. But I actually prefer the way that the older one drives. So market share dropped from 18% in 2023 down to 9.4% first quarter of this year. So that's obviously a big thing. To be entirely fair here, I wanted to really pin down a good argument from, so I'm avoiding confirmation bias. What is a good argument that could be sort of the the reason for the decline here. So just to remain open-minded, to really try and figure this out. So there will still be people who have a Tesla who are still going to tell me that I'm wrong, even though the numbers just do not lie, and this data is largely from Tesla, and it's basically numeracy. I don't think you can create that argument. I just don't. Even though I've actually really tried to, I just don't think you could, not reasonably. And I think it isn't a misrepresentation of the truth. I just don't think it is. I think it's an accurate picture of what is going on now. This is what Europe's EV market is like. This is what Tesla's portion of that market looks like. And it is getting smaller. It just is. But there are a good few reasons here, I think, why we can all guess why they would be in decline. And I don't think that the sudden spike in sales for a country of 5 million people in Norway around the release of the Model Y really tells us that the sales for the rest of the 700 million people in 30 other countries are wrong. I just don't think that's accurate. So the last time I talked about this, loads of angry Norwegians telling me that I'm wrong in the comments for no reason at all, but the whole world outside of Norway agreed. There is no official study of Tesla fanboys in Norway per capita, but I bet if there was, it would be pretty telling. So Teslas, they're good. I would consider buying one. I really, really would. But we have way more choice now than we ever have. This is the first time, I would say, this year we've got an actual EV market, which is really, really nice. It's not just a black Tesla Model 3 and a red Model Y over there. We've actually got lots of different cars that we can get. Like if you're in the UK and you've got £25,000, you can go buy a handful of different types of cars now, which is really, really nice. As more brands are coming to market, the EV market is literally starting to look like the old internal combustion engine market, which is really, really great. Obviously, Tesla are now no longer the big fish in a small pond. It's now an average-sized fish in quite a large pond, which is getting larger, frankly. So now what we've got is lots of cars that have different sizes and ranges, and from small ranges to long ranges, little batteries, big batteries, heavier cars, little cars, fast cars, cars with a motor on the rear, cars with a motor on the front, cars in silly colours like bright yellow. 7 years ago, really, it was all about Tesla, and we just didn't have much else. We had Nissan Leafs. I raved on about Nissan Leafs a little bit. They were really great, but they had no battery cooling. Everybody knows it, and that's why they haven't taken off. However, Nissan Leafs are actually great to drive, with the exception of that issue. Genuinely fantastic cars to drive. Everyone else seemingly contemplating their next move 7 years ago. Now they've made their next move. I think that's where we're at, just to give us a broader overview, in my opinion. I've said it again, but I'm really not for or against Tesla vehicles. They're just good these days. Pre-2020, 2019, they had definitely some reliability issues. Now, I would say they've probably mastered it, because every time I go see a Tesla, like the Juniper or another Model Y or a Model 3 or something, all the panel gaps and everything, spiffing. Really, really great. You open up the boot and the front, and it's beautifully painted at the back, and all the badges are perfect, and there's no dodgy lights, and all the handles are working. You can't hide from that. A spoon is a spoon. Anybody who lives in Europe or has been in Europe for a year or 2 or 3, you'll know that Europeans love Volkswagens or Skoda or Audi or Mercedes. German cars, basically, but also Citroens and Renaults sell quite well in Europe too. Genuinely, and I really mean this, and I don't want to come off on the, I don't want to come off on the wrong side of people here, but Tesla are not everything in Europe to European people. But I think, what Tesla stands for doesn't really resonate with a lot of cultures across Europe, because there are 30 countries, lots of different cultures. All markets are not equal, and the people who make up those markets are fundamentally and culturally different. This alters the perception of Tesla in certain markets and pockets around the world. This applies to all manufacturers and all markets, basically, not just Tesla, not just Europe. Elon Musk also said that himself, for example. So the way that Mercedes is sort of perceived in China is negative these days, probably more so than they're used to. And these days, Tesla has a sort of image, a public image, and a public profile, and you put that in Europe 2025 after all that's gone on recently in the news. It just doesn't resonate with a lot of people. Telling a French person to buy a Tesla rather than a locally made Citroen is a tough gig. That's all I'm saying. Thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing. You're very welcome to join on Patreon on the free tier. You don't have to use your bank card or anything, and you get live videos, deeper dive videos as well. And YouTube members, you can go on YouTube members for a couple of dollars a month actually, and or just subscribe. It's free, but just make sure, a message to all of you, when you click subscribe, you're not actually subscribed. You have to click the arrow and then click all videos, and then it will show you all of my videos rather than just 1 in 100. Basically, most people probably don't know that, but that's what you have to do. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.